All right, let's talk about something that affects pretty much everyone's retirement. We're going to dig into one of the most common pieces of advice out there, when you should claim Social Security. Because it turns out, the simple math that millions of people are relying on, well, it might be totally wrong. So, let's get into it.
I know, that sounds completely wild, right? But the data we're about to walk through suggests it's actually true for most people. There's this huge hidden flaw in the whole wait until 70 strategy, and once you see it, it could completely change how you think about your retirement.
We've all heard this a million times. The logic seems super straightforward. You wait longer, your monthly check gets bigger. And if you live past, say, age 80 or 81, you come out ahead. You've won the Social Security game. But what if that's not the whole story?
And you can see why this is so tempting. I mean, look at the numbers. For an average person, waiting just 5 years means an extra $1,000 a month. That's a huge deal in retirement. On the surface, it looks like an absolute no-brainer.
But here's the thing. That simple little calculation, the one everyone uses, it leaves out one of the most fundamental rules in all of finance. And that one little omission, well, it changes everything.
This one concept completely flips the script. It turns what looks like a safe, conservative choice into a massive, and I mean massive, gamble.
So, what is this big secret? It's something called the time value of money. It sounds kind of complicated, but it's actually a really simple idea. A dollar in your hand today is worth more than a dollar you get tomorrow. Why? Because you can invest today's dollar and make it grow.
And this, right here, is where the traditional advice just goes completely off the rails. The standard break-even math makes a crazy assumption. It assumes that the money you're forced to pull from your own savings to live on while you wait has a 0% return. Zero. As if you just stuff it under a mattress. That's just not how money works.
This really drives the point home. Let's say you need 100 grand a year to live on. If you wait to claim Social Security, you are pulling that entire amount out of your own investments for 5 straight years. That's $500,000 that isn't growing. It's a massive opportunity cost. So, what happens to that magic break-even age when we stop pretending our money earns nothing and start using some real-world math? Let's see just how big a difference even a modest investment return makes. Okay, with just a 4% return on your investments, which is pretty conservative, that break-even point jumps from 81 all the way to 87. That is a huge 6-year leap. And if we bump that up to a still very reasonable 5% return, that crossover point jumps again, this time all the way to age 90. And it gets even crazier. At a 6% return, a pretty standard expectation for a balanced portfolio, you don't break even until you are 96 years old. 96! How many of us can really, honestly expect to live that long?
And that really brings us to the most important question of all, doesn't it? What are the actual odds of living long enough to hit these new, much older crossover points?
The numbers are pretty shocking, and they come straight from the Social Security Administration's own tables. A 65-year-old man only has about a 1 in 3 chance of making it to 87. The odds of hitting 90? Just over 1 in 5. And the chances of living to 96? It's less than 5%.
So, let's just call it what it is. If you're planning on waiting until 70, you're not making an investment decision. You are making a bet. You are betting that you will live to at least 96 just to break even. And it's a bet with a 95% chance of losing. Is that a risk you really want to take with your retirement?
But you know what? This isn't just about the math. It's not all about spreadsheets. There are other major risks to waiting that are frankly way more important. Let's look at 2 of the biggest ones.
The first is called sequence of returns risk. By waiting, you're forced to take bigger chunks out of your nest egg right at the start of retirement. If the market takes a nosedive in those first few years, which can happen, pulling out all that extra money can permanently cripple your portfolio. It's a huge gamble. The second risk is simply the human factor. Let's be real. A dollar is worth a lot more to you when you're 65 and can really enjoy it than when you're 90 and your health might not be the same.
I mean, this quote really says it all. Your best, most active retirement years are often when you're younger and healthier. That's when you travel, explore, and really enjoy your freedom. By delaying Social Security, you might just be saving money for a time in your life when you can't even enjoy it in the same way.
So if the old way of thinking is flawed, what's the right way to approach this decision? Well, here's a simple 3-step framework that can help you plan for your actual life, not just for a spreadsheet.
First, figure out your discount rate. That's just a fancy way of asking, what's a realistic return on my investments? Second,
Be honest with yourself about your health, your family history, and what the real data says about life expectancy. And third, you have to stress test those bridge years from 65 to 70. Can your portfolio really handle those much bigger withdrawals, especially if the market turns against you?
So in the end, it all comes down to this one simple question. Are you planning for a spreadsheet or are you planning for your life? The old advice might look neat and tidy on paper, but when you look at the real numbers, the real risks, and the real human side of things, it becomes pretty clear that we need to be planning for what really, truly matters.